everybody. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. If you're here, probably nobody knows, but we've been having some scheduling issues with Sunday nights. So we're just trying to get a show in as we can. Um, we had a Super Bowl, a very disappointing snooze fest of a Super Bowl.
I liked it.
I stopped watching halfway through. I didn't even, and here's the thing. I work in advertising. I don't even want to watch the commercials. I'm like, I'm done.
All right. First of all right, let's just say this right off the bat. And this will just we're talking about sports, so you got to have a hot take. So here's my hot take. If you didn't like that game, you don't like football. Right. So there you go. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Football.
Right.
I like football. It was a great game. The advertising was better than it was last year, and that gets me going. So it was much better. The ads were much more clever this time around. There aren't nearly as many quantity wise clever good ads that I remember from when I was a kid, when they were just like every other one was hitting you. But hey, it was much better than last year. I thought last year was terrible. So
Yeah. It just, it's what's interesting is it's not as effective as it used to be, and there's so many more channels now, like that.
Right, totally.
That it's not it doesn't pack the punch that it once did.
No, and really, the only reason that people do it is to say that they did it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you get these, you get like there was that one company that does the what is it, the car floor mats.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
right?
sure. WeatherTech. Uh-huh.
Yeah, WeatherTech, yeah. And it's like they're like they pretty much, that's their entire marketing budget for the entire year.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
one spot,
Absolutely.
And I have a feeling it's more for the employees of WeatherTech than the actual customers of WeatherTech.
No, it absolutely is, right? And although I thought that they missed an opportunity there, because after the second, I think, WeatherTech ad that they ran, I thought to myself, they missed the opportunity to have the Fargo characters talking about the undercoating.
Okay.
I mean, that would have been great. And then be like, but what about these form fitted floor mats? Yeah, those I'll take. That would have been hilarious. But
yeah, no, I did like the Game of Thrones promo where they killed off the Bud Light.
That was great. I thought that was good too. And Budweiser's got a good history in their ads of doing these running ads, and then finally when they get to the end of the creativity, that they're like, this can't go any further, of actually killing those characters, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
So good on them. That was a good ad too.
It's pretty funny. Mm-hmm. So today, we're going to talk about the 5 things every new Mason should know. And I actually prepared 10 because I'm an overachiever.
My number 5 was never listen to 5.
So, yeah. So actually I'm not seeing anybody. Is anybody here?
There's 4 people here.
Oh,
There's
okay.
4 people.
All right. I'm just not.
We got 4 people.
I'm not seeing.
I'm not seeing any comments.
Okay, that's fine. That's good.
They're quiet bastards. Got to watch those people.
It's all good.
Got to watch the quiet ones, Eric.
It's all good.
By the way, I want you all to know we're live. We're doing this with no net.
Yeah, no net.
All for you.
Mm-hmm.
All for you. For the glory of the internet.
Mm-hmm. And the fraternity.
That's right.
So, all right. So, like, this is one of those things that we were thinking about, and
Jeff Woolsey. See, he's here.
There we go. Hi,
Jeff.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for being our viewer.
I just never know whether the actual software is working or not. So that.
No. We're up. Hey, we're up to 6. We're up to 6. We're at 7 now as we talk. Woo. I could rattle this off like an auctioneer, except I'd be done right now.
Nah,
so
don't.
It's all right.
Anyway,
go ahead.
So this is one of those things that, like, we've as old crusty past masters ourselves, we sometimes forget that we were once new Masons. And, and in this day and age, like, I remember when I first became a Mason, Usenet was still a thing on the internet. Like, there was no, those are the days when people were getting 14 or 15 AOL CDs in the mail every week.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to figure out what to do with them.
I used to download He's at 8 bods both ways uphill. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And
Right.
so there really wasn't very much information, for the guy. I mean, there
Oh
was a
yeah.
lot of information if you wanted like crazy stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot of information um about like, like, so once you
Yeah.
become a mason, you get your first degree. uh I remember we were just given a book, and said, here, have this book. And we were also encouraged, like, not to read too far ahead, and stuff like. But today, we've got like 14,000 different Facebook groups of
Right.
varying degrees of quality. We have
Right.
tons and
We
tons
have
of blogs and
we do, but we
podcasts
have.
and all kinds of stuff.
By the way, that story just proves that we literally have no self-awareness whatsoever. I'd like to give you this book. Please don't read it, but understand that I've given you this book,
Yeah.
and it's your opportunity for Masonic education. Again, I can't stress more. Please don't read it.
And really, the book wasn't all that great. I mean, it was
Well,
okay, but it was one of those things that, like, I think it was the Southern
yeah,
California Lodge of Research
it's not
would
terrible.
no, it was. I mean, as books go, it was
Sure.
fine. It just didn't have a whole lot of information in it.
Right.
And so, even if you were an entered apprentice and you look at this, you're like, what am I reading?
Right.
So,
Right.
so
I
we
get
thought
that.
we would compile like, what
Yeah.
are our top 5 things that we think every new Mason should know. And then if we get through the 5, then we'll,
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I have
Let's see what
4 more.
happens.
All right.
All
So
right.
why don't you start? What's your
Jeff Woolsey. I was pre-internet and I didn't even get a book. Stop one up on us.
He
Jeff.
got a stone tablet. A carved stone tablet.
Right. Right.
He got golden plates, but he had to go bury them again.
I wasn't even raised in my day. They just left me there. That's
Good evening,
fantastic.
Norbert.
Hi, Norbert. Sorry you had to come to this.
Yeah. So
But here we go.
What's
All
number
right.
1 for you?
All right, number 1 for me. I think it's the most obvious, right? Honestly, this is the most obvious one. You have plenty of time. Slow down. Give some thought to what's going on. Think things through. Savor the experience. You only get it once. And I think that's the most obvious thing that every new Mason should know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's arguably the most important thing every new Mason should know.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they should really take the opportunity that they're getting, because they only get it once, to be a new Mason and to really kind of drink it all in and enjoy it for what it is. And don't be impatient about, hey, when am I getting my 3rd degree? It doesn't matter. That's not. Enjoy yourself, slow down, really take it in, and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my big one. I don't know. We've hammered that before.
Right? Yeah, but when you were a new Mason, so I remember when I was a new Mason, I had a fire lit under me to get all my degrees. I could not get them.
Me too.
Soon
Totally.
enough. Like, if they could have done them like every Thursday for 3 weeks,
totally,
I would have totally done that.
Screw that. I'd have been like, oh, we're going to stay here all night and do this? That's fine. Give me some coffee. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was the exact same way. And the thing is that, I mean, it for all Masons now, right? This is the easiest piece of advice to give to a new Mason, and the most obvious one that everybody thinks about. It's the hardest piece of advice to take as a new Mason.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some irony there, but I don't know. Yeah. I think it's an easy one. All right. What you got?
All right. So my number 1 is find the guy in your lodge, but avoid that guy.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
So in every lodge, there's
clever use of articles.
Isn't it?
Ah.
See what I did there?
I did.
So in every
lodge, are you sure you're not a copywriter? You're just
Sure.
strategy.
Well,
clever use of articles.
I used to be a creative.
Well,
in every lodge, there's this one guy that is the knowledgeable guy, and he is he's like usually generous, usually somewhat soft spoken, usually, but he's the guy that like the past masters go seek out, that the
Mm-hmm.
master of the lodge seeks out. He might be your lodge instructor, right? He might be like a district deputy in your lodge, or a grand, like some kind of grand officer or appointee or something like that. Maybe he's the lodge historian. But there's some guy, there's a guy in the lodge who really kind of like loves masonry and is there, really really likes mentoring people and is there to help. And there are also people who kind of that I call them that guy. There's that guy who's going to tell you everything you did wrong, right? Who's
Mm-hmm.
going to, he's going to be like, don't cross the master's carpet, or don't, and just, and by criticizing you as a new Mason, kind of makes him feel good or something like that. Like it's kind of an ego thing.
Yeah.
And every lodge has one of those or two of those, right? Those are the guys that,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you let them, would be, calling out ritual mistakes from the sidelines.
Sure.
Who,
One has power. One really enjoys power.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
yes. So,
totally.
typically,
Is it crazy? Is it crazy? By the way, I know who those people are, right? That I can think back. My first experience in lodge, and know who both those people are.
yeah,
Like that.
yeah, me
Like
too.
it's immediate, and like they pop right to the front of my head.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's a good one. That's a really good one, Eric. All right. Kudos on that one. All right. My number two. Ready for this? Here it comes. It's coming in. It's coming in hot. It is what you make it, is the cliche,
Mm-hmm.
but it's true. Your attitude determines your outcome. So remember to create, never destroy. And what all of that kind of gets to is that you're responsible for this, right? You paid for this. You're the one that asked to join. Nobody recruited you. Nobody made you do this. They're not paying you. You're taking a lot of effort, right? We give you a bar that you've got to get over
Yeah.
to get into this lodge. Knowing that, take some responsibility for your choice and do something positive with it. Don't do negative stuff with it and go, well, I see what's wrong here. That's not what this is about. This is about make that a positive. Hey, I think this could be better if maybe we could do it this way. And if you don't get what you want at first, don't worry. That point is coming later. but again, this is what you make it. It's your attitude. Go into it with a good attitude. Don't be negative about the things that were bad.
So how do you do that? Like, how do you?
For me, sheer force of will.
Well, I know, but you're
I'm just kidding.
you're the Masonic curmudgeon.
Right.
But I mean, like,
right.
but,
Absolutely.
like, how do you like?
Eric, it's the same way I crap. I just push really hard. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So one of my good friends and Masonic mentors once told me when I wasn't quite a new Mason, but I wasn't the crusty old Mason I am now. He said, "You can tell me what I should do when you tell me what you will do."
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's always going to be, look, in any group, whether it's a work group or a family or a club or anything, there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be things that could be better, right? But
sure. And here's all right. And here's the serious answer to your question. What would I do in this situation? How do I do this?
mm-hmm.
Be quick to forgive. Right? Is because sure, there's going to be stuff that you don't like. There might be things that you see as transgressions, whatever, an insult to you. Be quick to blow that off. It's just stuff happens. People are people. Give people a lot of credit, because the thing is that, like, 99% of these people that are in masonry, are just good people, and they're human beings. They make mistakes. It's okay. Let them go. Don't be that jerk who corrects people's grammar, You use the wrong there. Okay, yeah, I'm texting. It happens.
Right.
You know, don't be pedantic. Let little things go. As soon as you do that for yourself, as long as you let that go, water off your back,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be way happier. The people around you are going to be way happier, because that's not what matters. What matters is the stuff that's behind it, the intentions. And once you see those good intentions, everything's positive moving forward.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. You just kind of ignore the little things.
So my second one is kind of a build on what you just said, which
All
is
right. That's great.
My recommendation is if you've recently gotten your first degree and you haven't yet gotten your third degree, stay the hell out of Facebook groups. Right? Just stay out of Facebook.
That's great.
Groups, right?
No, that's pretty good. Pretty good.
And the reason is because, first of all, I mean, we've talked to death about like
Sure.
why social media isn't a great medium to have, substantial discussions on.
Well, and social media is all right, I'll forgive you, of all times.
Yeah, exactly. And so you get people who are, one of the real pitfalls that you see in there is a sort of a sense of sanctimony where, you get guys who are just like, well, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. You should talk about this or, it's one of those places where, the worst of Masonry, seems to come out. And here's the thing, like if you're a new Mason, right, you're still learning, you're still, trying to get a sense of the organization, right? I mean, there's certain things that you learn in your petitioning process, right? In your intake process. You're going to talk to an investigation committee. You're going to get a sense, you're going to be told like, well, here's what we do and here's what we don't do. And, but when you get into those really unstructured discussions, the problem is that every, I'm trying to think of a clean way to say this, but that old saying about, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Right. And so the problem is you don't really know on a Facebook group who's who. Right. And so like I've seen really, really knowledgeable, deeply experienced scholars that are on Facebook that just get shot at essentially by people who just have no clue. And so the problem is that as a new Mason, you don't know who's who and what's what. And so, you're kind of like, you're kind of vulnerable to that kind of stuff. So my recommendation is avoid Facebook, right? If your lodge has a lodge has a closed group, that's probably okay. But stay out of, the Winding Stairs and Masonry for All and all those other groups where you're just getting everybody coming in, because it's too much. My advice is read, right? Find
my thunder.
Right? Find books, 4. Right? Find
step on my
magazines. Find magazines and books and really talk to people. Get see people face to face, call them on the phone.
Sure.
All you millennials, actually phones, you can call people on them.
Use Skype,
right?
If it makes you feel better.
Use Skype, right? Yeah. FaceTime, all of it, it's all good, right? But have a voice-to-voice conversation. That was one of the most rewarding things that that I was kind of blessed with when I was kind of going through my degrees, is I had some pretty darn experienced, interesting people that I could call up and just have a conversation for an hour, about various aspects of Masonry. And that was way more valuable. And so when I finally, what was interesting is, so the way that I don't know if I ever told this story, but the way that I came to Masonry was through Usenet. And so what would happen is, there was, for those who don't know, Usenet was like the discussion place on the internet. Like the internet was like, there was no World Wide Web, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was like you were basically uploading and downloading files, you were sharing files, there was email, and then there was Usenet. And Usenet was where you went to have threaded discussions. And there were um, moderated groups and unmoderated groups, and all the unmoderated groups had the prefix alt. So
Mm-hmm.
alt.freemasonry was the unmoderated group,
Mm-hmm.
and there was soc, SOC
Yeah.
dot
Uh-huh.
freemasonry.
Uh-huh.
That was the moderated group, and the moderated group kind of read like Facebook groups are today, but the
Right.
alt.freemason group was crazy town, absolute crazy town, right? And the thing is like I was kind of new to the internet. I didn't really know. And I stumbled on alt.freemasonry and was, everybody from like, fundamentalist Christians to, Opus Dei apologists to
Awesome.
David Icke, crazy conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. But
Fantastic.
what I noticed is that the Masons who responded to those guys were reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
They tempered their language.
Mm-hmm.
They saw a response as a teaching moment. They never stooped to name calling. I mean, and I was just like,
We've regressed.
yeah, well, see, and and I thought to myself, these guys sound pretty cool. I could probably hang out with these guys, and that's when I made
Sure.
a request to like find out more, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so like now like you intimated, like it's just kind of a morass.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just recommend that, like, at least for the time being, like once you get your third degree, you probably have had enough exposure to be able to handle, like, you'll know what's what, and you'll be able to kind of at least start to separate the wheat from the
Yeah.
chaff, right?
I just go back for a real quick minute on the comments here. Joe Crociata made a great comment about the internet is
He always does.
the internet is the windshield. You've got to read it. It's a beautifully phrased, a beautiful turn of phrase.
Let's see. I'm gonna scroll down here.
I can't go back, just so all of you out
He said
there.
the computer
know. Yeah,
screen is
there
to
it is.
crusty masons as the windshield is to road ragers.
Is that perfect? Yeah,
It's
it
true.
really
It's true.
is. It really is. Also, Bill Thomas wants to know if we're reading the comments. Yes, Bill, we're reading the
Yeah,
comments.
of course we are.
Oh.
Problem is that the new master mason expects an explosion, he says. I don't understand that. Like, what do you think he means?
That it's all just going to come to them all at once. But, there it is.
Oh, got it. Got it.
Right?
Like a tsunami of
That's what I think.
knowledge.
Bill, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what I think you meant by that, and I would agree with that. I was lucky enough. Here he goes. Then he goes to lodge and is bored to tears. Well, okay. Yeah, depending on the lodge. So I was just going to say, I was spoiled. I by the blind luck picked a great lodge, and it was more than what I thought it was going to be. And it had a great mixture. It wasn't a young lodge by any means, but it wasn't an old lodge. It had just a really good mix of old guys and young guys, and guys in the middle, and a bunch of guys that were really serious about it, and serious about the masonry and wanted to kind of dig deep into the symbolism, but weren't nuts. weren't like wearing tinfoil hats at the same time and saying like, masonry started in ancient Egypt. They were reasonable, good, cool guys who really got into really getting into the symbolism of masonry. So I lucked out. It was perfect for me, right? And at the time I was interning at the House of the Temple. And so I had literally stumbled into some of the greatest Masonic scholars on the planet. And so for me, ridiculous. And so I never had that problem, but I know that a lot of people have. You know, and that's, you know, you're all excited for this. You go through your, you know, your degrees, your initiation ceremonies, and then you come out the other end, and you're right, and you get a secretary that reads the minutes, and you sit, yeah, for 2 hours. That's exactly right. Yeah. Or doesn't have a program that night.
Yeah.
That was their entertainment. You know, that was you know, what you were going to get from Masonry that night was, hey, he reads really good minutes.
Yeah, I always thought it'd be
He doesn't.
like a really good thing, you know, and maybe it's not a good thing. You guys can tell me. Is you could be a bit of a bomb thrower in a positive way,
Mm-hmm.
where like, you know, when the floor opens up for new business, you could just stand up and ask a really kind of philosophical
Right.
question, right?
Right.
I have a question for the
Right.
lodge. You know, what does Masonry teach us about being a good person in the midst of bad people? Right. And then just like sit down and let it go, you know, like, right. Instant program right there. Right.
That is pretty fantastic. Bring your popcorn with you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'll wait for you to respond.
Right. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I like that. That's a great idea.
Um, cool. All right. So what's your number three? Are we on number three?
Yeah, we're on number 3.
All right.
You know what? My number 3 and number 4 have gotten ruined. I'm going to do them anyway, but they got ruined.
All
Number
right.
3, I stepped on myself. My number 3 was always remember that the people you're in lodge with are human beings. No one is perfect. We're all getting better in our own way, but most importantly, at our own pace. And so that was another kind of let it go moment. But I really got there with 2. I conflated 2 and 3, maybe.
That's okay.
It happens.
Yeah.
Again, we're all getting better at our own pace.
That's all right. Anything you want to add about that?
No.
Okay.
No, I think I think it really is. It really is kind of 2. My 2 and 3 really are the same thing. So and I talk a lot about 2. So go ahead. You've
Okay.
got 10 for God's sakes.
I know. All right. So, all right. So my number 3 is attend the degrees as often as you possibly can.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
No, that's a good one.
You'll get more out of it. Right.
That's
So
a good
like
one.
when you're going through a degree, it's all you can do to kind of figure out where you are and what's going on. Right.
Mhm.
And then you do,
Yeah, that's
you
a
know,
good one.
you do your catechism and you have some time to kind of reflect on what you've been through.
Oh yeah,
Right.
totally.
But then it's not until you start to see it again from the sidelines and actually
And
observe
not
what's
and
going
again
on.
and again.
And again and again and again. And like,
Yeah, right.
man, I get stuff out of the degrees every single time
Mhm.
I watch it. Every single time, like I learned something
Yeah.
new or something
Yeah.
kind of is you know.
That is a solid number 3, because you know, even when I was in EA, I remember going to another EA degree in town like a month after I got my EA, and it was awesome. It was really really fun. Always remember, got to have an escort if you're an EA or fellowcraft. You can't just willy nilly pop into another lodge, but it's worth it, man. Find a brother to take you because. Eric's right. That is a really big deal when you see those degrees over again. When you're not participating in them, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
You know, you think you know what you went through until you watch it again and go, oh wow, I forgot about that, or that's that. Oh, that's pretty cool. It's really great. Yeah,
and if you're a Masonic mentor, take
Yeah.
take your underclassmen to another degree at another lodge. Right?
Yeah.
Because you know, sometimes
Yeah.
seeing how somebody else does it makes a difference, right? It might unlock something for you
Mhm.
when you so Joe says the catechism gives the new Mason the necessary language to begin understanding the ritual. Absolutely
Mhm.
true. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing, and this is sort of
Sure. You have the script, but you really ought to go see the movie.
yeah, totally.
The actors are what makes it.
Number 4 for you, or did you do number 4?
No, I got 4. 4.
Okay.
You you stepped on my 4, but that's all right. Books are your friend. Is my number 4.
Okay.
Especially if you don't think of yourself as a reader. See, I turned that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think yourself as a reader. Books are your friend. This is a great time to get better. Take a book and read it. It doesn't have to be necessarily a very good one. Just read it and keep reading them so that you know that book wasn't a very good one. It's important for you to read good books and bad books. Read them all because it will all give you something. Bad books teach you what bad books are. Good books teach you what good books are and how bad those bad books were.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important to sit down and read, even if you don't really like it. Push yourself, stretch yourself a little bit because you're going to need it for this.
Yeah.
Not all the people in your lodge have the answers for you, and frankly, they don't have the time to have the answers for you. So you really have to do this yourself.
Yeah.
And reading is a big part of that. So go pick up a book. There are lots of good ones. I think we still have suggestions on our website. We have a reading list. Go start there.
Yeah.
Ask a friend. But there's lots of stuff for you to do with books, and they are important. They aren't the end all to be all, obviously, but they really are important. So books are your friend.
Cool. And I'm gonna build on that because
Please do. Go ahead.
My number 10 was know what to read and read them critically.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, right. There it is.
So here's if you're a new Mason, here's how to figure out whether your Masonic book that someone has either given you, loaned you, or you've picked up in the bookstore. Do those exist anymore? I hope so.
Yeah, they're few and far between, but they exist.
How to recognize whether a Masonic book is worth reading, right? First thing to do, pick up the book, go to the back of the book, open the back of the book. Is there an index, and are there endnotes?
Ooh.
If there's an index or endnotes, that means somebody took the time to actually index the book, A, and B, that they're citing their sources, which means that they had sources, right? All too often in Masonry, we get books where, they're saying, well, the square and compasses looks like a hieroglyphic we saw in Egypt. And if that's true, then that means the pharaohs were actually Freemasons. And if that's true, that means, right, and you're going down this path. It's like absolutely fantastic, a bloody good yarn, as they say, like a really good story, but absolutely no basis in actual reality or actual history, right? So look for like a bibliography in the back, and then even better endnotes, or if there are footnotes in the in the quality of the text, because that means that the person who's writing the book took it seriously enough to to cite all that stuff, right? So your chances are you're getting a pretty decent book. And then
they're showing you their hand of cards. They're saying, "Hey, I'm not just making this up. Here are the foundations I built this idea off of."
Yeah, exactly. But by the same token, as you said, read the bad books too, right? There's a lot of them.
Oh yeah,
that have the word key in them, that have the word Hiram in them.
Right.
Have the word
secret.
Temple.
Yeah.
They're not great in terms of like history, but they are
Born in Blood. Fun. Born in Blood is one of the best bad books I've ever read.
Yeah.
I mean, it is written deliciously well, and its conclusions are completely wrong, but it's super fun to read.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So definitely read. Number 5. Oh wait, I didn't get to do my number 4.
You could, right? Just do your number 4.
Let's see. So I have 2, right, that are kind of similar.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Wait at least a year before getting a Masonic tattoo. Please wait a year
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stretch that out and say,
Well, put it this way: I don't believe in tattoos anyway. I'm not a tattoo guy,
but listen, no. This is good advice. This is good advice because I mean I've heard before you get her face tattooed, on you, give it a minute.
yeah, right.
See where that goes.
Just stop.
I think
breathe.
5 years is. I think 5 years is a good way to the good time. It also gives you a 5-year window, right? Half a decade, changing tastes to really figure out what that timeless tattoo is going to be.
Jeff
What's
says,
going to say masonry for the rest of your life?
Right. Yeah. Jeff Woosley says, wait until you've sat in the East for a tattoo.
Sure.
At the very least. Yeah.
That's probably not a bad idea either.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause Mike's now pushing my buttons. Mike says, with a skull and crossbones in the middle of it. So thanks,
right.
Mike. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Right. Bill Thomas. Born in Blood is the best reference for an interested person who wanted to make a casual inquiry. Totally true.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Right. And so the corollary to this, is, actually, you know what? I think we lost your video.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh.
I'm frozen.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's all right.
If you want to pop out and pop back in, that's cool.
Yeah, let's do that. Hold on, I'm
right.
gonna refresh.
And while you're doing that, I will continue. The corollary to this one is if you're going to get a Masonic ring after your 3rd degree, get a good one. There's a lot of like crap out there in terms of like quality. I mean, I've just seen some really, really dreadful work. And what's worse is that a lot of the stuff you see on eBay is actually stolen designs. Like they'll take the designs of other artisans, and it's people don't. I don't know if people are aware of this, but it's super easy to copy a ring. Right? You just take the ring, you put it in a silicone mold, you let the mold harden. You peel away the mold and pull the original out, and now you've got a mold. You can pour wax in there and make another wax casting, and you can just kind of go to town. And that's what happens when you that's what happens with a lot of sort of crappy Masonic rings. And so I would recommend, eBay as a place and Etsy are two places where you can get good deals on, kind of antique things. Oh, Jason can't get back in. All right. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, if you're going to get a ring, get a good ring. That's
okay.
That's my,
there you go. No, that's solid advice.
And my next one really kind of applies once you become a master mason, right? So if you're a fellow crafter or an entered apprentice, then this doesn't really apply to you yet, but will. And that is travel, right? Travel. It's one of the privileges of being a mason, is you get to travel.
It's a good one.
And visit other lodges. And it's one of those things that, like, I don't get to do it as much as I want to, but every time I do, I get a lot out of it. I get to see how other lodges, how they run, how they do things. Visiting places like, Williamsburg and Canada and Washington, D.C. and New York. I've always gotten a lot of not just learning about, different perspectives on the degrees and the rituals and kind of how guys do, but getting ideas that I can then bring back to my own lodge in terms of what's working and sometimes what's not working. Right. Cause sometimes I always find that learning what not to do is as valuable, if not, more valuable than what to do. Jeff also points out, to my previous point, he says, show restraint in the quantity of lapel pins worn at one time. Now all right. So Jeff, you're absolutely right about that. However, if one is a new Mason, chances are they don't have a whole lot of pins yet that they can, be wearing. So
that's fair.
We'll save that for the, what not to wear show on
Yeah.
when we do that one.
Right. What not to wear. That's great. Hey, Mike's going to be at Masonic Week next Saturday. Speaking of travel. Yeah, I know. We know, Mike. We'll see you.
He is going to be there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I think the last time we were
He
broadcasting,
he just said, speaking of travel, I will be at Masonic Week next Saturday.
that's great. Because
Yeah.
I don't think he was planning on coming.
I know. We'll talk about this in a minute, but
right.
yeah, because we need to talk about that. But let me build on the travel thing.
Please do.
Because my number 5 was as a Master Mason. This is again now this doesn't really apply to EAs and Fellcrafts, but as a Master Mason, go to Grand Lodge or go to a dependent body meeting, any dependent body meeting. You don't have to join, but go to a meeting. And the reason is because you want to be able to enlarge your world a little bit, meet guys from other lodges that are around you. It's kind of like traveling, but you don't really have to go to the lodge. You can go somewhere else where everybody comes to. So you meet more guys outside of your lodge. It's important to kind of extend your worldview that way. Mm-hmm. You don't have to participate in those things. You don't have to join a dependent body or anything like that.
Wait, can you?
But go to a meeting.
So wait, can you attend an dependent body meeting if you're not a member of it?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, you can go to the beginning part of it or whatever. You can go to check it out. You can go and have dinner or whatever with those guys. I mean, they have to recruit. So, true. Trust me, when you email someone from a dependent body and say, "Hey, I was thinking about coming by for dinner," they're going to take you up on it because they want you as a member. So there you go. I love, by the way, that the lapel pin conversation just got out of control.
Kind of blowing up.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
My rule is 1.
Yeah.
One.
I had to say Crociata's comment was the best though. It shouldn't outnumber the dandruff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. My rule of thumb is 1, and I will sometimes make exceptions if I'm already wearing one and someone gifts me one. Like I don't want to be ungrateful and just be like, hey, pink, but yeah, I usually have a strict limit. It's kind of like my ear, like one earring is all you get, So anyway,
hey, there you go.
And so, all right. So my last, actually, I have a couple more.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
This is my number 9. Don't be a Masonic tool. Right? Be a working tool. Don't be a Masonic tool. And what I mean by that,
don't be a tool. Be a working tool.
Be a working tool.
I like that. That's nice. That, you know what? But write that down. Because remember, we were thinking about doing merch. That would be a great T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Don't be a Masonic tool.
Be a working tool. Don't be a tool.
So that consists of 3 things, and this is especially true in social media and other places where you might be in a larger group of people that are outside of your lodge. Number 1, don't accuse others of real versus fake masonry. Right? It's just unbecoming, right? So like, for example, female masons, yeah, great. We don't recognize them. Don't make a big deal about it. Don't be sanctimonious and be like, you're not a real mason. You're not a true mason. It's a well-known logical fallacy called no true Scotsman. Don't even go there. There's no reason to. There's absolutely no reason to. But I think that's Hall, funny. If your state doesn't recognize Prince Hall, don't make a big deal about it. Be like, oh, you're clandestine. You don't, it's just right. You don't need to.
Here's my thing I draw a lot of parallels between Masonic culture and like geek culture and comic book culture, right? Oh, don't tell me. Spider-Man is crap. That's a horrible comic. The only true comic is Superman. And that's like, and that's that is the same argument. No, it's all fun. It's all comics. Just get over yourself.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Spider-Man might not ever visit
right.
Gotham City. It's okay. It's okay.
Right. And being critical is a great skill to have until you take it too far.
Yeah.
The connoisseur doesn't have to trash everything to show that he knows everything.
Right. So the second part of that is don't assume all Masons are like you.
Maeve is better than DC. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that's a good one.
Right.
Because they aren't.
Don't assume
in fact, most
all Masons
aren't.
are like you. Right.
Yeah.
So there are Masons who are different color. There are Masons who are different religions. There are Masons who are different sexual orientations. There's all kinds of people in Freemasonry, and every time you spout your mouth off about somebody, or a class of people, just remember, chances are there are brothers who are within earshot who are listening to that, and you're making them feel terrible. You're engaging in what is essentially unmasonic behavior. And then the third thing is don't embarrass the craft, right? Just make sure that when you're wearing that ring or the square and compasses on a hat or on a vest or on a jacket or on a t-shirt or a polo shirt or something like that, remember, you are an ambassador for the craft. Because the general public, they don't know from the fact that Grand Lodges are sovereign and that there's multiple Grand Lodges and that the Scottish Rite isn't actually Freemasonry like the Blue Lodge, and that the shrine isn't its own thing. They don't know. They just see it all as Freemasonry. And so if you're acting like a jerk and you're proudly displaying your square and compasses, saying to yourself, well, I can do whatever I want, it's a free country, you are doing the craft a disservice, right? Just look, if you're going to be a jerk, it's fine. Just take the stuff off. Go be a jerk, right? Just take off the stuff. Otherwise, comport yourself to be a credit to the fraternity. Be an ambassador. Be a diplomat.
Maybe show someone that you're trying to be better person.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like a good man made better. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Just a suggestion. Get your money's
worth. And then the last thing that I've got in our 5 things, which is now actually like 12 or 13 things, plus a system crash, is there's a rhythm to the catechism. There's a rhythm to Masonic ritual language. And if you learn the rhythm, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to learn ritual, and it's a lot easier to learn your catechism. And so you can without getting into the specifics of it, because we're not allowed to, you can find the guy, not that guy, but find the guy in Lodge that'll help you recognize the rhythms. And once you recognize it, and so I'm always reminded of there's some great footage of the Thunderbirds do this and the Blue Angels do this. So these are the fighter plane, stunt acrobatic planes that they fly in these amazing formations. They do these amazing things, and what they do is they turn their routines into kind of like sing-song like things, and they call them ditties, right? And so like if you listen to the radio chatter while they're in a show, you'll hear the commander being like, stick back, going up. And they do it in this rhythm, right? That keeps everybody synchronized and keeps everybody remembering what they're supposed to be doing. So if they're supposed to be rolling, they're rolling, and they're not climbing, or and it's a really ingenious way of kind of understanding a set of instructions and acting on them. So there's a rhythm to Masonic language, and if you learn the rhythm, man, it is so much easier to memorize stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Who is it? There's no, I'll think of it later. Never mind. I got to bring it up because it's just, there's a magician. I was watching this magician. Who's the guy who just died last month? The sleight of hand guy. You know who I'm talking about, I think.
No. David Copperfield?
No, David Copperfield.
No, I don't know who you're talking about.
What's his name? He was part of they did a really famous bio of him in New Yorker magazine in the 90s, early 90s. It's like held up as the the platonic ideal of the card guy Woosley. Yes, he's on what I'm on. What's his name? I need a name.
The card guy?
Yeah. He was a really famous card magician. He was in he was good friends with David Mamet. He was in all of those films. He was the camera guy in Boogie Nights. The cameraman. Yeah. Jimmy. Yep. Is it Jimmy? God, I can't think of his name. This is killing me.
Drawing a blank, man.
Anyway, so this guy was he was a really, really famous sleight of hand card artist, right? And he was known in the magic community because he was kind of aloof, and he specialized. Like, he literally would just go out and buy as many like 15th century treatises on magic as he could find, and found all these, like Ricky Jay. Thank you, Mike. God bless you. That's who it is, Ricky Jay. Go look it up, everyone. He's amazing. But he literally was if you go and you watch and you read about Ricky Jay, the New Yorker has a great profile of him from like 1993, 94, I think. It's amazing. And Ricky Jay is, I mean, the fact that he wasn't a Mason will shock you, because he acts just like one. He reads these crazy old books. He got kind of he'd get a little aloof with people and be like, oh, well, so you haven't read blah 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 from 1687, explaining these obscure card tricks that this guy with no arms used to do. And what's really interesting is that Ricky Jay is famous. One of his most famous illusions is called the Four Queens. So if you look up Ricky Jay, the Four Queens on YouTube, amazing. And he does it. What's interesting is he does it in his whole routine is done in Victorian prose, and it sounds just like someone doing Masonic ritual. It's incredible when you listen to him. I was watching this illusion the other night, and I was like, oh my God, it's like being in lodge and watching someone do a card trick in all, in this flowery Victorian language. Amazing. But his cadence is awesome. So I highly recommend that. Ricky Jay, kids.
Okay.
He's amazing.
Awesome.
A lot of fun. So there you go.
Terrific. So that's about all I've got. I mean, do you have?
That's all I got too. I mean, I got Ricky Jay out. That was great. That was a lot of fun.
And thanks to the thanks to the comment section for
Mike swooped in to save me. Although Woosley tried, so that he gets points. And Woosley points out too that Ricky Jay's stories are awesome, and they really are. So Ricky Jay was best friends with like David Mamet, and like he used to create routines for Steve. I want to say Steven Spielberg for Steve Martin. There you go.
Okay.
And they're amazing. They're comedy magic routines and stuff. But his stories are insane because he specialized in researching like fakes and frauds and con artists and stuff. And so a lot of the language of cons that they use in like Ocean's 11 and stuff, where they have all those names for the cons, a bunch of them are real, and they're from Ricky Jay. So amazing stuff.
Cool. So Joe asked, he reminded that we were going to talk about Masonic Week.
Yeah, we are going to talk about Masonic
Week. So let's talk about Masonic Week. So what?
All right. Well, so we want a podcast. Well, number one, we want to hang out. So if you guys are going to be in town for Masonic Week, we want to hang out.
Yeah.
We have things to do. We have responsibilities. Some things that we have to go to, but for the most part, we're kind of hanging out.
Footloose and fancy free. Yeah.
Right. I think 9 times out of 10, you're going to find us at Shelley's.
Mm-hmm.
It's the default place.
But here's the thing. If you're going to be there and you want to do a meetup, let us know ahead of time. Like just drop us a line at X-Oriente@gmail.com and let us know. So, because if there's a lot of people, then, we'll make sure we're at a bigger space. If it's just a few people, we'll make, we'll make some room, and, we'll make sure that that you can be accommodated. But we will be podcasting. I don't know that we'll be doing it live. Doing a live show. I mean, as you can see from our our crash today, right?
We have enough problems at home.
There's no net, and we've got really great high speed bandwidth, and so I'm just afraid that like you go to like a hotel with hotel Wi-Fi and it's just not going to be there. So we may make a couple of attempts. I would say stay tuned. Those attempts may completely fail, but we will definitely be recording while we're there, and then those recordings will be made available in the feed. Joe says, oddly enough, I find myself at Shelley's right now. Of course you are.
Of course you do.
Of course.
But of course, Mr. Bond.
But of course. So we will be out there, and I'm going out there on Thursday. And,
Woosley shares my opinion of Masonic Week too. That's awesome. I can't go to Masonic Con.
Well, there's Masonic
That
Con.
is definitely the new name I'm using it for. That is fantastic. Masonic Con.
So Jeff says we need something similar in the Chicago, Milwaukee area. I completely agree.
I'm in.
And this is something that Jason and I actually have talked about, off the air, about doing something, and maybe in the
we
summertime,
contemplated Kenosha. They have a White Castle, and it's halfway.
Wow, really?
They do. They have one White Castle. It's delicious. It takes 45 minutes from Milwaukee to get there, but damn it, I'll do it to get the White Castle.
Yeah, Jason and Eric go to White Castle. A movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meant to never be made. All right, so Bill makes a good point. He says I needed better advance notices to these podcasts.
Our schedule is capricious.
Our schedule has just been like really, really horrible. Just life and work and stuff like that.
Yeah, life and work and stuff.
But what we'll do is I'm going to put together a calendar with some topics and get some guests lined up, and we will post them to Facebook as events, and so hopefully we'll be able to be doing this we try to do it on a regular basis. It doesn't always work out, but that's the nature of life. But we'll try to do better at that. We have Fangirl. Interesting. So Richard Veer says we have fangirls in Utah who want to be able to plan on watching and drinking. Well then. We don't want
fantastic.
It's
That would be a first.
Amazing.
That is a first.
Oh, I blush. Anyway, so that's I think that's all we got for tonight. We'll stitch this together and put this back together. Hopefully, when we go out, the credits won't crash again. Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
Otherwise, I want to do. I really do. I think it bears mentioning one last time. If you're going to be around for Masonic Week, drop us a line. We'd love to hang out. But we just need to know how many people are going to be around. Otherwise, if it's just a couple people, still drop us a line because we'll be at Shelley's. So, and there'll be lots of interesting people there. Lots of interesting people all the time, and it's a little bit more freeform than this, and I get to swear more, which is way more fun for me. So
awesome. So anyway, we do owe a huge set of thanks to our executive producers, without whom this show doesn't happen. And so we will. So one of the things that it's been really hard to do the kits, because the kits they require a lot of postage, and they require that you go down to the post office and wait in line. And when you're like super busy and you have to make an appointment with yourself to use the bathroom, it makes it hard to kind of get down there and get it. However, I'm in the process of completely redoing the way in which we do kits. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set anybody who's an active member of our Patreon executive producer roster. we'll get a new kit. Whether or not you've gotten one before, you will be getting a new one, and we're just gonna revamp. I'm actually looking at getting something like stamps.com and things like that to kind of make the process go a little bit smoother and a little bit more automated. So if you haven't received your kit yet, I apologize. Stay tuned. It's coming. And if you like what you hear and you want to support us, you can do that at our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/X-Oriente. And please consider visiting. Otherwise, if we'd love to know what you think of the show, drop me a line at xoriente@gmail.com. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss any episodes. You can subscribe pretty much anywhere you get podcasts. We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we are on Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcasts. We can be found. Just look for X-Oriente. And we thank you for tuning in, and we thank you for staying with us through our crash. And next year in Jerusalem, like we hope next time we won't have this, but we'll keep you informed on our Facebook page as to what's gonna be happening over at Masonic Week. And so hopefully, if you can't join us in person, you can join us. As a listener. Anything else?
No, that does it. I think that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. And Fiat Vox,
Fiat
everybody.
Vox. See ya.